Councillors, can I have your attention, please? I welcome you all to this meeting of the Cardinia Shire Council and declare the meeting open. This meeting will be conducted in accordance with the Council's governance rules. It is important that members of the public present in the gallery respect the setting and do not disrupt the meeting, particularly during debate and discussion by councillors on items listed within the agenda. We will commence the meeting with the following reflection. I would ask those gathered to join us now for a few moments of silence as we reflect on our roles in this chamber. Please use this opportunity for reflection, prayer, or thought to focus on our shared intention to work respectfully together for the well-being of our whole community. Thank you, everyone. The Cardinia Shire Council respectfully acknowledges that we are on the traditional lands of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri people and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We have received two apologies for tonight's meeting and they are from Councillor Tammy Radford and Councillor Colin Ross, and we'll note those in the minutes. Can I have a motion, please, to adopt the minutes of the previous meetings as listed? And they are the Ordinary Council meeting on the 19th of August 2024 and the Town Planning meeting 2nd of September 24. I see Councillor Moore. Is there a seconder? Councillor Springfield. We'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Agenda item number 5, councillors, are there any declarations of interest in relation to tonight's agenda? I see none, so we'll move on. Community question time. We have lots of questions here to get through, so we'll take them one at a time. Our first question is from Isa Ronald. Is Isa here? Yes. This will be answered by Dana Harding, Acting General Manager of Governance, Facilities and Economy. Thank you, Dana.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you for the question, Isabella. The cost of delivering legal services to the Shire in 2023 was identified as being $1.068 million. Is this the entire amount of legal fees payable and exactly how many legal firms were engaged, showing the company name and what was each legal firm's share of that amount? A copy of the information will be provided in the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Our next question is from Gillian Ronald, and I note Gillian is here. Yep. This will also be answered by Dana. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Gillian. For the year ended 30 June 2023, the Decorative Light Pole Fund was reduced by $173,000. So how was this money spent and which companies were used? The money was predominantly paid to UAG Services, who provide replacement decorative lighting materials to AusNet Services on behalf of Council. Some funds were also used to address lighting issues in other areas, such as council-owned parks and car parks for community benefit, through the use of Campaign Group, DCL Electrics and Wallgates Electrical. Question number 2. The 2022 year saw $256,000 removed from the Decorative Light Pole Fund. How was this money allocated and for what reason and to which companies? The money in the 2021-22 year was predominantly paid to UAG Services, who provide replacement decorative lighting materials to AusNet Services on behalf of Council. Some funds were also used to address lighting issues in other areas, such as council-owned parks and car parks for community benefit, through the use of Campaign Group and solar lighting contractor Lead Sun. Additionally, public lighting consultant Ironbark Sustainability were engaged to audit street lighting as part of planning street lighting upgrades, which had a focus on decorative street lighting. Question number 3. The reserves description in the report, decorative light poles, states existing subdivisions where decorative light poles are already installed are to be offered the option to install the same decorative light poles in the future stages. So what steps has Council taken to advance this concept? On which estates and with which developers? And why was this approach not taken with existing decorative light poles, such as those in the Heritage Springs estate, so the beautiful Collins Street streetlights could be retained? This statement refers to the ability of developers to continue to use the same non-standard lighting throughout an estate when it is being established, if approval has been provided in an initial stage. This is being commonly used by developers and is why similar lights are installed throughout estates. This is not relevant for the management of existing assets, such as the lights in the Heritage Springs estate, as it relates to the choice of lighting being installed in new estates.
Thank you. Our next question is from Lee Burke. Is Lee here? Thanks, Lee. Dana.
Thank you, Lee. Question 1. In 2021-22, Council removed $256,000 from the Decorative Light Pole Fund, which was used for the contractor costs related to the replacement of decorative light poles lanterns, which the companies were involved and which estate specifically has decorative light poles replaced. Majority of this question was answered in the response to the previous question. This information will be in the minutes, including the list of all estates. Question 2. Since the engagement of the Ironbark Sustainability, in relation to the LED upgrade of council streetlights, how much have they been paid? Council records indicate Ironbark Sustainability have been paid approximately $111,000 in relation to the Mercury Vapor Street Lighting Replacement Program since 2021-22, including a field audit of approximately 2,000 lights. Question 3. Council identified funding sources in April 2022 to fund the relighting upgrade estimated at $2.5 million. Other than the actual physical replacement contractors, can Council provide a list of engaged consultants and how much they have or are expected to be paid? In addition to Ironbark Sustainability, Council incurred legal fees of approximately $5,000. Question 4. How much funds have been removed from the Decorative Light Pole Fund during the current 2023-24 financial year, and who was it paid to and for exactly what service was being supplied to Council? Council records indicate approximately $36,000 was used from Decorative Poles Reserve account during the 2023-24 financial year. It was used for various lighting maintenance activities such as reviewing and addressing lighting issues in Cook Springs and East Stones reserves, addressing lighting issues at Toowoomba Community Centre car park and addressing lighting issues in other parks and reserves. Those engaged include Campaign Group, Ironbark Sustainability, NHAR and DCL Electrics. Question 5. Have the very specific Decorative Light Pole Fund reserves been used for any other purposes other than decorative light poles and decorative lamps? Council records indicate the Decorative Light Pole Fund reserves have been used for the maintenance of other lighting such as council and car park lighting to benefit the community and community safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Trevor James. Is Trevor here? Thank you, Trevor. For your question to Dana.
Thank you, Trevor. Question 1. Council states AusNet owns all the decorative street light poles in the Shire. Why is the provision of decorative lights and poles to AusNet the responsibility of Cardinia Shire Council? AusNet's responsibility in relation to these assets is to provide functional light, not a decorative looking lights and poles. If the decorative look is desired, Council must provide replacement materials due to AusNet requirements. Question 2. Council records indicate approximately 100 decorative light poles have been replaced in the Shire over the past 10 years. How many have been replaced in the last 12 months, the location of each replacement and the reason for the replacement? Council records indicate that in 2023-24, no decorative light poles were replaced with decorative poles. Council does not have a record of non-standard poles being replaced with standard poles by AusNet if this has occurred. Question 3. What is the total number of decorative lights and or poles that have been replaced in the Heritage Springs residential estate over the last 20 years? This question will be taken on notice. Question 4. Is the Council aware that lining the main street in Hillsville, there are over 70 of the same Collins Street design street lights as Heritage Springs estate, none of which will be replaced or crushed for recycling? Council is aware of a diversity of street lighting types, plans and maintenance arrangements being in place across Victoria. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Our next question is from Hank, and I note that Hank is here. Thank you.
Thank you, Hank. Why did the Heritage Springs light installers not have the Cardinia Shire Council FAQ sheet that was developed by Council's project management consultant as a resource that the installers have on hand to distribute to community members who inquire about the inappropriate work? Council will review this matter with the contractor. Question 2. Why did Council's project management also advise Council that it is best to try and be as inclusive as possible around consultation? In the Mayor's Joint Statement 3rd of September states, Council is committed to ensuring good governance and transparency in all that we do, including our community engagement activities. Council's actions have been in accordance with its community engagement policy. Question 3. I have read the Council's public transparency policy, which is scheduled for review on the 17th of August 2024. Has it been reviewed, and if not, why not, and when is expected to be reviewed? The public transparency policy will be reviewed within the next 12 months of the council election. Question 4. Why did Councillor recently change the governance rules, specifically in relation to community question time, dictating questions not to have commentary or preamble, and that no questions will be responded to by the elected councillors or only officers? The changes reflect council meeting efficiency and good governance. Council undertook community engagement on the revised governance rules and considered all submissions before adopting the revised rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Bill Ronald. I note Bill's in the gallery. I'll refer that question to Dana. Thanks, Dana.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Bill. Mr. Ronald asked a series of questions about a legal matter that the question response will be provided in the minutes where appropriate. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Dana. Our next question is from Rosa Santo. I note Rosa's in the gallery. Thanks, Dana.
Thank you, Rosa. How much training do staff receive before they man the phones and customer service department for residents' inquiries and at the Civic Centre front desk inquiries, especially when it comes to rates inquiries? I was put through to 3 different staff members on the phone, which none of them could answer my inquiry to do with rates. Customer support staff receive 4 weeks of training prior to taking calls unsupported, and additionally training before working on the customer counter. This training provides them with resources and knowledge to answer basic questions on all the services council offer. Where a customer has a more specific or complex question regarding any of our services, including rates, the customer is transferred to the relevant team. Question 2. Why is the front desk at the Civic Centre only attended by staff on certain days of the week, and why can't I make an appointment to speak to a staff member any day of the week with my inquiries? As I was informed by staff to just turn up on Wednesday and I will have to wait to be attended to. Residents deserve better than this. The front desk is attended by a customer support staff member Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Making appointments to see customer support is not necessary. For more complex or detailed inquiries, making appointments for specific departments is generally not required, as there are staff members available to answer inquiries at the front counter during our operating hours. Question 3. Why are some Cardinia Shire wards during election nominations multiplied in numbers stacking up to 6, 7 or more at one time, and some only have 1 or more, or none running at all? What happens if there are no candidates running at a ward? The candidate nomination election is run by the Victorian Electoral Commission. Candidates themselves choose a specific ward in which they wish to nominate and run in. Each candidate provides a contact email for inquiries. If there is a ward with no candidates, the VEC will hold a by-election specifically for that ward. Thank you.
Thanks, Dana. The next question is from Alison Haddock. Is Alison here? Sorry, Alison, I didn't see you there. Thank you. I'll refer that question to Dana.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Alison. When Cardinia Shire Council on the 17th of June 2024 resolved item number 7, amendments to governance rules to read 3.52.2, the community question submitted should not contain any commentary on the matter or any preamble to the question, did Cardinia Shire realise this restriction is in breach of the Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities Act 2006 and the Equal Opportunity Act 2010, especially for those with English as their second language? Did Cardinia Shire Council obtain legal advice regarding Section 15 of the Act, freedom of expression, before applying the changes to the governance rules? If so, which law firm was used? What was the precise and specific advice, and on what date was the advice requested? The officer's response, attachment 6.3.1.1, suggests that if officers feel the preamble, which is now deemed unnecessary and should not be submitted with the question, is reasonable for the question, it will be read. Does council stand by this anomaly, giving council officers the right to not read parts of residents' questions? Is council aware of the specific wording in the Act? The Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities protects our rights to have our own opinion and to seek, receive and express information. Does council accept that the new limitation placed on community questions, no preamble or commentary, is unreasonable, unnecessary, unjustified and disappropriate? Do the sitting councillors realise that freedom of expression includes not only freedom of speech, but also freedom of artistic expression? The freedom to communicate generally and not freedom of expression is a fundamental human right. The governance rules allow for questions to be asked by the community, and they are reviewed in line with all relevant legislation. The governance rules will be reviewed following the council election. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Dana. So that ends community questions. Now, there are also, we also believe there were questions submitted by Cheryl Billing-Smith and Chantal McLaughlin, but these questions did not come through to the governance team. So we will ensure that answers are provided directly to each resident and also include them in the meeting minutes on fair balance. All right, thank you. We'll move into general reports. We'll start with item 7.1.1, proposed Bunyip North Quarry environmental effects statement. The officer recommendation is that council delegate to the Chief Executive Officer authority to make a submission to the proposed Bunyip North Quarry environmental effects statement if it is placed on exhibition during the council caretaker and election period 2024. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Springfield. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Springfield, for the second. I'm sorry, Mayor, if I speak a bit lengthy on this item. It's a very emotional item, and it hasn't been actually brought into this council chamber for a while, this particular subject. So I may need some extra time to ask for down the track. The proposed is for a granite quarry with the ultimate footprint of 134 hectares of site, 280 hectares, to extract 70 to 100 million tonnes of granite over a period of 75 to 120 years. This is a proposal that's had a long history dating back to 2010, approximately when I started on council 14 years ago, Mayor, when Hanson Constructions Material Private Limited advised council of their intention to seek a planning permit to use and develop the 5 land titles in Bunyip North, comprising of 280 hectares, for the proposal of extractive industry. Due to the, and it has got an extraction industry overlay on this area, due to the proposal's potential to have significant, and I mean significant, environmental, social, economic and impacts on the surrounding areas, council wrote to the Minister of Planning requesting that an environment effects statement, an EES, be required for this proposal, and understandably. This request from council was accepted by the Minister, who advised in 2015 that the EES would be required and specified the procedure and requirements of the EES. The Department of Transport and Planning have recently advised council the proponent, being Hanson's, has commenced lodging their final EES documents with the DTP, and consequently, formal exhibition could commence, possibly commence, over the coming months. The purpose of this report and the purpose of this report coming up on tonight's meeting is to seek council approval for the Chief Executive Officer, Ms. Carol Jeffs, to make a submission if the EES is placed on public exhibition during the council election caretaker period, which starts tomorrow, and the date of submissions closed before the new council can be considered and endorse the submission. So it's very important. In addition, tonight's resolution, the Mayor has, on the 4th of September this year, written to the Minister of Planning to bring her attention to the council elections that the new council will not meet until a scheduled general meeting on the 16th of December this year. Request that if a formal exhibition of the EES does occur during that period, the election period, that the final date to lodge a submission in response to the EES exhibition is to set after the 20th of December 2024 to enable the new council to consider this endorsement of the submission. The proposed quarry has become a highly emotive issue with residents living around that area, which I've been to a lot of the meetings over the many, many years, near the proposed quarry site, and of course naturally the Friends of Cannibal Creek Flora and Fauna Reserve are also involved in this. The proposal has been reported through the paper quite often over the years. The residents have mobilised a form of a group to actively oppose the quarry, very active, and they've created a website also. The proposal could have impacts on the land use on adjoining properties, as well as including economic impacts on the road networks, of course, the traffic impacts and amenities and lifestyles of the residents on adjoining properties. Thank you, Mayor. I'll leave it to the seconder if you would like to find some words other than that in this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. I'll go to Councillor Jeff Springfield.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, this is a topic that has been present in front of this council for many, many years, for the community for many years, is the proposed quarry up at Bunya North there. And you know, I remember in the first council term, previous one to this, you know, attending community meetings and hearing their concerns around this issue. But tonight we're not here to make a decision on what we feel about this or this proceeding or a planning permit around this or anything. It's just authorising some delegation to the CEO in the caretaker period, which is coming, in case there is needed a response from council towards the EES, the environmental effects statement. And I do welcome the CEO to make this. We've had many discussions about this. We've really gone over the concerns raised by the community and really investigated, you know, what type of effect this may have on the surrounding environments and the residents that live there. So I feel fully confident that the CEO has the ability to share this if the time, you know, permits, if it comes up in this point of time, and if it doesn't, then it'll be the next council that will be deciding upon the response that will be made to the planning minister at that point in time. But I'm very happy to see this proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? I see none. I'll go back to our mover, Councillor Moore, to sum up, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Springfield. Well said. It is a simple. It's just if it's a matter of if the EES does arrive during that period, and that's when the CEO has been instructed to be able to look after this in the absence of the council. And I've instructed the staff here in the future for the future new councillor for the Bunyip Board to be brought up to date with this particular very sensitive subject. Before I summarise, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pass on to Mr. Michael Casey. Could he pass on to the planning staff who are looking after this, Duncan Turner and Teresa, who have been fantastic on giving information and briefing us right up to today. So it's can I pass on my thanks and our thanks as council to those staff members. So it's simple as it's hoped that the Minister for Planning takes note of the Mayor's request to time any exhibition period to enable the new council to consider and endorse a submission. Given the potential significant impacts on the community concerns, and they do concern me very much, it is virtually important that council can consider and make a submission to the EES exhibition. However, in the event that this does not occur, then tonight's resolution provides the CEO with the authority to make a submission if the EES is placed on exhibition during the council caretaker period and election period of 2024, as Councillor Springfield pertained to. When the formal exhibition of the EES has been completed, it is expected that the Minister of Planning will then appoint an independent advisory committee to consider all submissions that were received during the exhibition. Council officers will have sufficient time at that point in the process to present to the new council a detailed written submission that will be prepared for the panel hearing before it all commences. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. We'll now put the officer recommendation to 7.1.1 up for a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Okay, sorry, we didn't catch all the votes. We'll do that again. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Thanks, councillors. Item 7.2.1, notice of motion 1095, Vaughan Court Christmas lights display. The officer recommendation is that council notes the report in response to the notice of motion 1095. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. I move an alternative recommendation that council returns this report.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Is there a seconder for that alternate? I see Councillor Owen. Sorry, thanks.
For the purposes of debate, please.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. I'll go to Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Owen. I love Christmas. Irrespective of your religious beliefs, it's undeniably a beautiful part of modern Australian culture. How we end our year with Christmas every December, approaching the good weather, enjoying each other's company, friends, family, music, we stop and we reflect. And whilst I'm on the topic of Christmas, I want to say a huge thank you to our Connected Communities team. In May this year, I moved, with unanimous support from the council, a notice of motion for the council to establish a grant fund and support a program to re-establish a community-run major Christmas carols in Pakenham. We resolved to commit to this for the next 2 Christmases, and it's growing great. The team are collaborating with our mighty volunteer workforce, and I want to preempt that this is going to be a great event for 2024. A huge thank you to the volunteers of the 8 local churches who are coming together to re-establish community-led Pakenham carols. I can't wait. Thank you, council officers. Thank you, community volunteers. You're doing us proud. But Vaughan Court and the Christmas lights. We have a duty in local government to community safety. Time and time again, it's the first or second issue our community raises, safety or transport. And this report, it doesn't answer the question we asked. The notice of motion directed the council to provide a report to ensure council has oversight of the risk management practices the council officers in collaboration with the Victoria Police provide to protect the safety of our community as they enjoy the event. But this report, I'm wondering if possibly what has been sent in the agenda might be a draft, because what does it tell the council? That we're going to improve things this year by sending everyone in the estate a letter to remind them their Christmas lights shouldn't cover footpaths. I've heard many concerns about the lights, but never that people put their lights on the footpaths. And we'll set up some bins. Helpful, but this isn't community safety related. The report, it's not risk management, and it's not actually answering the council resolution. And we heard some huge concerns by residents about the event being so popular their estate is gridlocked and the ambulances couldn't get in or out. And we asked via a notice of motion for the council officers to respond to the risks identified by our community, and they didn't. So I don't think we can note it, and I think it needs to be returned, because if we receive it, we condone it. And I don't want to be liable if an ambulance cannot get to an injured person in time. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. I'll go to your seconder, Councillor Brett Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to second this notice of motion for the purpose of the debate. I do believe the report does address the concerns raised by Councillor Davies. There are actions proposed that's detailed in the report. I've previously received complaints around waste and rubbish collection, but I do note that council will increase waste collection services for council bins in the area. So that addressed a concern that I raised when this notice of motion came up. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this? I see Councillor Ryan.
For you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Davies, for bringing this up. Thank you, Councillor Owen. This is in my ward, and I go to these events. Now, there have been some issues there, and I've never seen lights across the footpath. I think the residents are very, very safety minded when it comes to where their lights go. VicPol spends quite a bit of time visiting during the night or during the couple of days it's on. The only problem I see that is a concern, and I have relayed it, there are food vans that decide that they want to run their businesses from neighbouring nature strips, and these food vans don't have permits. So I would be interested to find out whether, in the near future, that they are going to be overseen as to their permits. And a horse and carriage, which is fantastic. I mean, it's great for the family to go around, but turning the carriage around in a very narrow environment, you've got children running across the road and footpath, and it's quite dark, and it spooks the horses. And so they don't see the children because they're so small. I would hate to think that there would be anyone injured because of those reasons. And there is quite a bit of traffic. There are arguments that go on continually in reference to parking across the people's driveways. and blocking. And they're some of the things that I have seen in the years that I've gone there. So they are a little bit of a concern. You know, this is a great idea. I'd like to see more residents get lights out there, because Christmas, no matter what your thoughts are on Christmas, it's just an enjoyment to be around. It's a social interaction. And, you know, people laugh, people enjoy, people are singing. But, you know, I question too, I know it doesn't normally come under council, but maybe in the future, if we are going to have these vans turn up without permits and the horse and carriage without a permit as well, it is a bit of a danger zone that maybe possibly in the future could be looked into. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. I'll go to Councillor Springfield.
Thank you, Mayor. Firstly, I would like to foreshadow that if this alternative motion is lost, that I would like to move the motion to support the officer's recommendation. And stating that look, I can't myself support the alternative motion to return the report, because I don't actually understand what that is. I've never seen it in our governance rules of what that necessarily means. It's not a direction of saying we want to do something different within the report to saying return it. So I've read the report and I'd be very happy to note the report. I'm not sure exactly what the outcome we want to achieve here. I respect what's stated in the report, and council doesn't have oversight over Christmas lights on private property, and nor should we. We get accused enough as it is of being a nanny state and trying to regulate things too much. So I don't think we should be regulating what people do in their own properties, such as Christmas lights. I note that we have responsibility when it comes to pathways of footpaths and access. I note in the report we're going to provide more waste services to help accommodate, so there's less waste, which public litter is a big thing for us. I note Councillor Ryan's concerns about the food vans. I do believe that council will, if they're not, they need to have permits if they're going to operate in our municipality, and if they are operating without that, then I would ask that compliance goes and gives them a slap on the wrist to accommodate that. And we want to see the best outcomes for our community. But this event, I'm sure, is well loved by the residents down there, because they regularly do it year on year. So I don't want to see this thing shut down. I respect the report that's been given for this, and the information that was provided to this council when before this report was asked for was that it's not a council event. We don't have oversight on this, so I don't want to see any more council resources and our ratepayers' dollars spent on writing more reports of investigating something that we shouldn't be having oversight in meddling with. And we noted the factors that we do, and I think we should leave it at that. So, yeah, I foreshadow the officer's recommendation if this is not supported. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I support Councillor Springfield on this. Look, yes, I can understand. I've sympathised with the people that live on this road. You can understand where some would say there's cars going up and down all night and day and parking across driveways. I think the report that's written has addressed a lot of these issues. What we can do, not what we can't do, what can we do on that spot when it comes down to our compliance staff and from a councillor's point of view. It's not the only road in Cardinia Shire. You look around Lakeside itself in particular, there are many, many roads in Lakeside that are very much like this, that have the same issues. So I can understand, where do you stop and start this point? Is it just one road? Is it the rest of the roads? How much money do we throw at this? How much funding do we throw at this when it comes down to compliance? What to do, what don't we do? So I think the report as written addresses the issues that are happening in Vaughan Court, and maybe some of the other roads that maybe come up, it might be used as a template for future issues we may have in Pakenham, around, particularly in the Pakenham area. I mean, even if you look at the outer areas of Couirup, has a lot of lights in there. They have many lights around there. So does Garfield in particular, and Bunyip. So they're all over the place, and I commend the community for celebrating Christmas and having that Christmas spirit that we should all have, I think. So it's I think we should just look at this on a logical, common sense point of view, and I exactly what Councillor Springfield said. I go along with it. Thank you, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? I'll return to the mover, Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. I have nothing further.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. We'll now put the alternate motion to 7.2.1 up for a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that lost. Note, Councillor Springfield, you foreshadowed the officer's recommendation. Can you please move that?
I would like to move the officer's recommendation to note the report.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Moore. Councillor Springfield to speak first.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I appreciate this report that's come back in front of council after the notice of motion previously raised by Councillor Davies here. I think it outlines council's responsibilities in this space quite well and what we can do to make amends. I note there has been, some community complaints. There's been some in the past around the amenity, that how this impacts the surrounding communities. And I think within this report, council officers have outlined what they will do to try and address this moving forward, but not going above and beyond what is our focus and our remit as a council in our jurisdiction. So nothing further. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I've already stated my case. I'm happy to second the original move. I moved. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank Councillor Davies. She raised this issue. It's a great, lights display. It's a very popular event. So, having a look into it, investigate whether areas can be improved is an important thing to do. And that's what this report has detailed. In 2023, Council received 3 complaints via the Customer Response Management System concerning the Christmas light display at Vaughan Court and Stanton Court in Pakenham. These included 1 from the community and 2 raised by councillors. I believe I was one. And that was around the waste issue that was a resident contacted me about. And the report further says no issues were reported in 2021 and 2022 through the customer service system, although this does not account for any telephone inquiries made directly to council, as a number of phone inquiries are not captured if they're not a customer request. Council also reaffirms its work in partnership with Victoria Police. Council will request regular patrols to oversee the area and maintain a visible presence, which will help deter any unwelcome activities, whether it's traffic issues, antisocial behaviour. But I think it's great to invite the police to have more of a presence at such a big event. This ongoing collaboration underscores our dedication to ensuring a safe and enjoyable Christmas for everyone. So that's definitely something what council is going to do. We are going to write to residents. We are going to increase waste collection services for council bins in the area, and that is important. I know there's a number of parks, so definitely I would like to see that increased waste collection services, particularly for that peak time, obviously. Council will conduct random patrols to ensure food and drink vendors are not located on council land and required to vacate if they are. Obviously, there's permit processes around there required. So I think this has been a good report. It raised concerns that a councillor did have. It's been investigated. There's a number of actions, and my expectation is that those actions will be actioned in the coming months as part of this report. So I'm happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Councillor Ryan.
Through you, Mayor. As Councillor Owen has pointed out, that in this report, it has addressed certain things, and I'm one of the councillors that did inquire in reference to the food vans and permits and the horse and carriage and the concerns of safety issues there, as far as children running in front of the horses and and the driver not seeing them. So they were concerns. And look, it's a great place to go. I always enjoy going every year. I think it's just something that people just it's community based, and you know, if we all got together and just enjoyed the whole environment. But yes, the waste is one of the issues, and with the food vans, I think it was the noise factor of the generator going, and you know, it's quite noisy when someone's trying to get some sleep during the evening. So they were the concerns that I did relay. But this report does bring up the fact that there are concerns, but at the end of the day, it's covered an enormous amount as to making us more aware of how we can improve what comes under council and what doesn't come under council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Are there any other speakers? I see none. I'll go back to Councillor Springfield to sum up.
Thank you, Mayor. Just in summary, yeah, I appreciate the details in the report and the extra measures that Council will go to try and help serve the amenity of the community down there. And I look forward to visiting the lights displays and having a look for myself. I haven't been down there before, but you know, maybe I'll take a drive this year. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, we'll put the officer recommendation to 7.2.1 up for a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Item 7.2.2, Public Art Independent Assessment Panel. The officer recommendation is quite a long one. It's listed in the report, points 1 through to 6, so I won't read them all out. Is there a mover for the for 7.2.2?
So I have an alternate notice of motion I would like to put forward to council.
Thank you. Yep, please present it.
My alternate notice of motion is that council delegate the selection and commissioning of public art for the Lang Lang Township to the CEO or their designated representative adhering to the specific design criteria. The artwork shall be a sculpture excluding murals. It must commemorate the Lang Lang Rodeo with an equine theme. Materials reflective of Lang Lang's rural setting and council maintenance requirements, such as anti-graffiti measures, must be incorporated. The sculpture will be situated at Thwaites Park in Lang Lang. The artwork will be of a size that is visible from the main road and positioned within the park to allow safe public access. The maximum budget of $140,000 is allocated for this project, and the artist selected must demonstrate an understanding of local history and engage with the local community. Number 2, that council endorse the creation of a public arts independent assessment panel as outlined in attachment 3 to this document to oversee the public art project at Thewlis Road Integrated Child Family Care Centre. Number 3, require council officers to provide a report on the art selection and progress of the public art projects for Lang Lang and Thewlis Road Integrated Child and Family Care to the Arts and Culture Reference Group following the establishment of the committee after the council election, and delegate the oversight of all future art projects, public art projects, to the Arts and Culture Reference Group, who may consult an independent assessment panel as needed.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron, and we note that. Is there a seconder for that alternate? I see Councillor Davies first.
Okay.
Councillor Cameron to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. This public art for Lang Lang has been in the making for a considerable number of years. Councillor Moore was part of the original delegation for this art project, and it was all around a rusty horse, commemorating the Lang Lang Rodeo. Lang Lang Rodeo is one of the longest running rodeos in Australia and has actually been inducted into the Rough Riders Association and the Rodeo Association Hall of Fame because of its longevity. To commemorate Lang Lang in this manner with a sculpture would be absolutely fantastic, and the community are just overjoyed and really, really wanting to get behind this art project. It has taken some time. It had a bit of a false start for a little while, and I think it's now back on track after community consultation. And I'm sure that the artists selected for this project will do justice for the community and for the commemoration of the rodeo.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Davies?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Cameron. I support Councillor Cameron's efforts to represent her community. and I know firsthand she's made a huge effort to rebuild community trust between council and the community. And Councillor Cameron, I take it that motion, as was above, that's agreed upon and supported by the community, because that's enough for me. And I will acknowledge that Councillor Cameron has done a job well, a job very well done. And this is the central question of democratic public service. Why were we elected councillors? I believe we are here to ensure the organisation serves the people and not the other way around. Otherwise, what's the point of even having councillors? What's the point of trying to do this job? Well done, Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Are there any other speakers? I see Councillor Graham Moore.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Cameron, for this alternative motion. I think this has come at a timely time to have some say in what happens in your own township. And I know I'm going back a bit of history here, back to Councillor Ray Brown when he was before he passed. We had this discussion about with the Rotary Club of Courup Lang Lang Rotary Club, who wanted to have some sort of identity for this rodeo all those years gone by, because the rodeo has been going since the 1940s. So it's a wonderful event that's kept going for all this time, even with all the controversies to rodeos. It still goes, but and so it'd be a really great thing to have this rusty horse. We hopefully that will come out of this this independent panel. And I just wanted to speak about the independent panel because it's very significant that I think we have local people, local identities that are involved in the local area to be on the independent panel. I think is an important factor. Having people on a panel that have no connection with the local area is a little bit on the dangerous side to what you'll receive and what you'll get back out of it. So, and I know this is going to come up in the new council, and I commend Councillor Cameron for putting this up now to see if we can get this up and running or something in place before the new council's elected in October this year. So it's anyway, I think it's been well written. The alternative motion has got all bells and whistles to what the notice of motion should be, and I'll look forward to seeing the end result one day down the track. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Are there any other speakers to this item? I see Councillor Carol Ryan.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Cameron, for bringing this up. The artwork is always important in our community. We see it in lots of other communities, and the the tremendous work that goes behind it. And I don't think the public realises how much work is involved, besides not only the immediate staff and officers, but also the interaction with the local councillor of that ward. And I think that this horse would represent what Lang Lang is all about, and what goes on there. And I think it's really fantastic. I think we can take an example of the bad mistake we have made in the past about artwork and what's right and what's wrong for certain areas. And I think we need to improve immensely in our artwork and get it up to standard so that we can appreciate our community and how important it is and what the artwork represents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Are there any other councillors to speak to this item? I see none. I'll go back to Councillor Cameron to sum up.
Thank you, Mayor. I've really got nothing further to add.
No worries, that's fine. All right, thank you. We'll put your alternate motion up for a vote for item 7.2.2. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Item 7.2.3, Audit and Risk Committee Biannual Report. The officer recommendation is the Council notes the Audit and Risk Committee Biannual Report as presented by Chairperson Vincent Philpott. Do I have a mover for this item? I see Councillor Kay Cameron. Would you like to move the officer's recommendation?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move the officer's recommendation.
No worries. Thank you. Is there a seconder for this item? Councillor Carol Ryan. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor. The Audit and Risk Committee report summarises the activities carried out by the committee in compliance with the purposes set out in the Act. The committee's role is to monitor, review and advise Council on the standard of financial control, its risk management and corporate governance. Specifically, the committee must monitor the compliance of Council policies and procedures with the overarching governance principles and the Act and regulations and any ministerial directions. The monitor Council's financial and performance reporting to monitor and provide advice on risk management and fraud prevention systems and controls, oversee internal and external audit function. These responsibilities are mapped to the committee's work plan and distributed evenly across the committee's annual calendar of meetings. At each meeting, the committee verifies that each agenda includes all the items scheduled for that meeting and that any carryover items be addressed before the start of the next calendar period. The committee's 24-25 work plan was endorsed at the committee's June meeting, and the committee again acknowledges the timely and high quality support of the council executives and officers, which ensure the effective functioning of the Audit and Risk Committee in fulfilling its purpose. And the committee is in a position to provide the council with assurance that the overarching governance requirements of the Local Government Act are being met and applied.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. I'll go to your seconder, Councillor Carol Ryan.
I'll reserve my right at the moment. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors to speak to this item? I see none, so I'll check back in with you as seconder.
I have nothing else to add.
Thank you. And I'll go to Councillor Cameron to sum up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councils are governed by a VAGO, which is the Victorian Auditor General's Office, and based on their audit and subject to internal VAGO review, the agent expects to conclude that the financial report of Cardinia Shire Council is presented fairly. They also conclude that the performance statement is presented fairly, and VAGO expect to issue an unmodified audit opinion. They will conclude and issue their audit opinion once the audit process is finalised. Outstanding audit matters will include a final review of the financial report and performance statement, a review of the signed management representation letter, completion of the review of subsequent events. So in short, the VAGO and are happy with the way everything has been presented to the Audit and Risk Committee, and how the council officers have conducted their internal and presented those to VAGO and to the Audit and Risk Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. We'll now put the officer recommendation to item 7.2.3 up for a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Item 7.4.1, draft annual financial report and performance statement for the year ended 30th of June 2024. The officer recommendation is that Council approve in principle the draft 23-24 annual financial statements and the performance statement attached to this report. Authorise the Principal Accounting Officer to make any changes recommended by the Victorian Auditor General's Office or HLB Man Judd. Authorise Councillors Kowalczyk and Davies to certify the annual financial statements and the performance statement in their final form after any changes that may be recommended and agreed to by the Victorian Auditor General's Office. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Springfield.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move an alternative recommendation, please.
Okay, yep. Please
And that alternative is pretty much very similar, but one, approve in principle the draft 23-24 annual financial statements and the performance statements attached to this report. Authorise the Principal Accounting Officer to make any changes recommended by the Victorian Auditor General's Office or the HLB Man Judd. Authorise all councillors, noting only 2 will be required, to certify the annual financial statements and performance statement in their final form after any changes that may be recommended and agreed to by the Victorian Auditor General's Office. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that alternate? I see Councillor Cameron. Councillor Springfield to speak first.
Thank you, Mayor. So yeah, before us, it's the annual financial, as we said, a finance report performance statement for the year. It's coming right towards the end because we go to caretaker period as of tomorrow for the council elections jumping up. And I just have this slight amended alternative, which we discussed earlier, which just gives the provision. We're in caretaker mode. Naming 2 specific councillors to be the only 2 to sign it may prove some difficulties, so it just opens up the floor, which is quite within the delegation of the for the governance office, and they've let for have 2 dedicated councillors rather than 2 specific councillors to sign off on that when it comes time to that. So it's just opening that doorway to make sure we can achieve the outcomes we need to achieve within this. Hence why my very slight different alternative as laid out in our papers in front of us. Otherwise, it's it is a draft annual financial report and performance statement for the year. It's all noted within the report for councillors to read, and I'll leave it there at this point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Springfield. I'll go to Councillor Cameron as a seconder.
Thank you, Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to present to Council for approval in principle the annual financial statements and performance statements for the 23-24 financial year. The annual financial statement represents a general purpose financial report consisting of a comprehensive income statement, balance sheet, statement of changes in equity, statement of cash flows, statement of capital works, along with accompanying notes. These statements have been prepared in accordance with the relevant professional statutory requirements, and the performance statements reports range against a range of performance indicators introduced under the local government performance reporting framework, which are statutory requirements under the Local Government Performance Reporting and Accountability Act 2014.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Are there any other councillors to speak to this? I see Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. So Councillor Springfield's alternative motion, it's not a small change. Councillor Springfield, I think it's quite unusual. Councillor Springfield's never been one of the councillors on the Audit and Risk Committee. He's never attended the Finance and Risk meetings as an observer either. And I've never witnessed any particular interest in this matter by you, Councillor Springfield. My first concern on this alternate motion was that it was presented to councillors by Wayne Mack today, and I'm really unclear on whether or not this change has been assessed against our obligations to the Local Government Act. We explicitly under the Act are required to delegate 2 councillors into a formal role on the Audit and Risk Committee, and that these 2 councillors have the financial visibility responsibility. Are we legally allowed to change these delegated councillors and absolve them from their duty of signing? Councillor Kowalczyk and I signed it last year. Why would it be any different this year? I have no concern whether all councillors have a good look at our finances or don't, because the more that do, the better. But Councillor Springfield's proposing a governance change in our last meeting before the caretaker period. And I'm also concerned because we're at the completion of the annual process. Is it appropriate to change the rules on the sign-off on financials at this time? Look, I think it could be seen as unethical and potentially corrupt, certainly not impartial. So I certainly won't vote in support, and the original officer's recommendation doesn't suggest we need to change our signatories, so why now? And if this is carried, and even if it isn't, I think that we need to refer this to the Local Government Inspectorate and to IBAC for review. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other speakers to this item? I see none. I'll go back to Councillor Springfield to sum up.
Thank you, Mayor. And look, just to note that this I believe there was discussions. Well, I understand I had these discussions that I observed, so I believe all councillors were sort of privy to the idea that it probably would be just a safety. It's a risk avoidance sort of measure here. We're going into caretaker mode. Councillors go a bit AWOL this time, so we don't know where, who might be and when or whatever. So rather than prescribe 2 particular councillors, regardless of who those 2 particular councillors are, within the rules and under the Act, we can prescribe any 2 councillors to sign off on this. And I think it just gives the opportunity.
Thanks, Councillor Davies. What's the point of order?
Councillor Springfield has just said that under the Act we can do this. Could we perhaps get advice on that?
So, Councillor Davies, I'll just refer to what a point of order can be. So, defamatory, disloyal, irrelevant, irreverent, obscene. I'm not seeing that as a point of order. Thank you. Please continue, Councillor Springfield.
Thank you, Matt. And if Councillor Davies really wants to be one of those signatories, I'm sure that she can be. It just gives the opportunity in this period of time, which is unusual in the 4-year cycle, to have, to make sure this can be signed off when it needs to be by relevant 2 councillors. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. All right, we'll now put your alternate motion up to item 7.4.1. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Item 7.5.1, major projects report. The officer recommendation is that Council notes the September 24 major projects report. And I see Councillor Owen wants to move.
Thank you. I move that recommendation that Council note the September 2024 major projects report.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Moore. Councillor Owen to speak first.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Moore. This is a really good report each council meeting at the moment. I understand this report is being reviewed and changes are expected in the new council. So I look forward to seeing that new report. Councillors have made recommendations and officers have taken that on board. So I look forward to that report coming back. But let's talk about this report. The Strategic Road Sealing Program. Council is investing funds to upgrade several strategic roads across the Shire to improve transport connections. Approximately 25 k's of road across the Shire has been identified. And this is a several year old program and we're going through it. Obviously roads have been completed, but I want to talk about Huxtable Road. Construction of Huxtable Road, Pakenham Upper, includes pavement, curb and channel and underground drainage. So this project is fully funded by council. Construction is scheduled to commence this current financial year. It is budgeted in our council budget. So the finalisation of the design and environmental permit application has been delayed due to the design consultant withdrawing from the project unexpectedly and DECA changing the impact rules of vegetation removal. So I do understand this has taken some time. There are challenges, but this is progressing and the report does talk about that. Also detailed designs of Bessie Creek Road, Evans Road and Thurles Road. Once again, this project is funded by council. It is in our forecasted budget and designs environment investigations are continuing for these projects. The Princess Highway intersection upgrade, this has obviously been a long-term program. I know people have been frustrated regarding Bayview Road, Tivendale Road, but they are almost complete. I do look forward to those being completed. I want to talk about Brunt Road. Brunt Road is unfortunately not funded by the state at this stage. Council continues its advocacy through revenue streams such as the Growth Areas Infrastructure Charge, which obviously taxpayers pay and developers pay into that. So I look forward to council applying for to fund that intersection. That is a much needed upgrade required. We know that is over capacity at the moment. So we council will continue to advocate for state money for that. Sealing the Hills program, the advocacy campaign calling the Australian government to reconsider the decision to discontinue the project is ongoing. I know there's been a number of, obviously, hundreds of disappointed residents, but council made a budget submission to the Australian government in February 2023, calling for the reinstatement of funding. So council has also approached the Victorian government. So council's advocacy in this space will continue. But there isn't a few schemes that is proceeding because money was received before the withdrawal of funds. Stony Creek packaging Upper Beaconsfield, construction Morris Road, Burton Road and Young Street, Beaconsfield Upper, includes pavement, asphalt and curb and channel. So that's gone through VCAP process. Works are scheduled to commence later this year, which is really, really good. I will pause at this time and allow for other councillors to speak to this.
Thank you. I'll go to your seconder, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Rowan. This is a great report to have once a month to an upgrade of the progress of what's happening within our Shire to relay that off to our community. And I asked them to look at this report and go through this report because it's quite exciting, some of the things that's happening in Cardinia Shire. And the one that strikes me tonight, of course, is the Garfield North, the Cannibal Creek Reserve, which at the last meeting we had, the town planning meeting, was voted for by my fellow councillors to see this project move forward. And the community of Cannibal Creek Reserve in that area are excited to see this building take place. And so it's next year, sometime rather, I hope to see that building in place, and I'll see it from afar because I won't be there as a councillor. But it's really nice to think that this project is starting to move again in the right direction, funded by council and the Victorian state government as well. But it's really good to have this once a month, and I know that through Peter Benezic's group. Its department, it's really upgraded now that it's more up to date, and I think it'll be further up to date in the new council in the future. So it's always an exciting thing to see the major projects report to come up to council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Carol Ryan.
Through you, Mayor. It is a great report because it also explains to the community that the work that the team does, the officers as well as councillors, and what they advocate for within their community, and also shows that coming to an end for this term, that what's completed and what's not completed, or what's part of the way through, which is really great advocacy, and it's a learning process for everyone as advocating. So Pakenham, McGregor Road, duplication, including Henry Street intersection, the upgrade of the intersection to signalise the intersection. It was funded by council, and DCP funding are in place to complete the design. The Victorian government announced $6 million of funding for this project through the Growing Areas of Infrastructure Contribution Fund to deliver this project. Council funds are also available to complete this project. The timing, the works will be linked in with the removal of the LXRP and coordinate and other state and council projects within Pakenham area. The detailed designs are currently being amended to incorporate Rogers Street intersection into the signalisation of Henry Street. Service impact assessment and engagement will relevant services and authorities are currently underway and should be around completion of towards the end of 2024. And I just want to scan just down a little bit to another project that I think is important for a discussion for the community to hear about, because it's been a very long discussion, is the Cardinia Youth Hub. Relocation and expansion of the, My Place youth facility to parcel of the council owned land at James Street, Pakenham. The new facility will accommodate approximately 1,000 square metres of building structure, together with landscaping and associated car parking, which the car parking is completed, which will be designed to engage and support young people from the age of 12 to 25. This is jointly funded by Council and the Victorian Government, Growing Suburbs Fund and the Australian Government. The car park was funded by the Australian government, local roads and community infrastructure. The project is to be delivered in late 2027. Updates: the recommendation to continue this project was endorsed in August council meeting. Works are underway to assess approximate methods of redemption of the demolition.
Sorry, Councillor Ryan, that's your time. Would you like
Okay,
to ask
can I
me?
have just a few more minutes? It's only one line.
Moved, Councillor Springfield, seconded Councillor Moore. Yep, another minute. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Council officers are working through updating the funding body agreements and timelines for the projects. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And sorry about that, Councillor Ryan. I have to be balanced. Councillor Springfield.
Thank you, Mayor. And coming at our last general council meeting for the council term, it is great to see a few projects that we've been working on for a long time getting over the line. So I'll just have a quick shout out for the Almatrilo Amphitheatre, which is coming along now. And look, it's had a lot of hiccups, you know, and I've been with it all the way with the community, and it has been frustrating. It was actually, you know, detailed to be delivered a year ago, but it is really well underway and will be delivered by October. But it's really underway, so it's great to see. The skate park in Emerald, which we signed off on for the tender just recently at the council meeting, that's going to proceed and due to be complete by the end of the year, which would be a fantastic addition to that. And to the Emerald surrounds and the amenities up there at Warra Reserve. And lastly, just a bit of a shout out for the Sealing the Hills project. And it lists the projects which are still ongoing there, but they're nearing completion around the First Avenue whole package, which is the largest singular package in 3 phases that we've done in Cockatoo there. But such difficult terrain that residents have to put up with for a long time on their unsealed road there. So it's really, it's great to see that hillside, which has drainage issues, it's had so many issues with a lot of residents living there, a lot of quarter acre, less blocks sitting there. It's going to be great to see that when it finally gets completed over the line. And just to note, you know, that ever since the funding from the federal funding had been withdrawn for the future projects of this year, council has been advocating and will continue to advocate to see this moving forward, to see more funding returned, to deliver more sealed roads across our unsealed network. We have 850 odd kilometres approximately of unsealed roads, and the more roads that we can get sealed, it's not going to happen overnight, but if this project can keep rolling year on year and we can keep getting a couple of more kilometres done each year moving forward for the next 10, 15 years, it's a long-term plan, but we need to be able to deliver this to actually make a real difference long-term to our communities across the fringes of the outskirts of all our Shire. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll briefly refer to 2 exciting projects coming up in Tumark Ward. The first one, Arena Parade and Officer. So as you move east along, we have upgraded lots of intersections on the Princes Highway, and that's a real credit to council that's tapped into federal funding. But congestion's a big issue, and at Arena Parade and the highway, it's currently unsignalised. It's a T intersection, and we're going to upgrade it. We can increase the capacity to handle more traffic, to improve the traffic flow, and also get it ready for future development when that happens. And we've actually accessed money via the state government growth area infrastructure contributions fund, as well as our own developer contributions. And I'm really excited, and I think this might be a small project, but it's going to make a big difference. It's going to make it easier to cross the road, easier to walk, easier to drive through, and I'm really excited about it. And finally, 10 weeks to go. Formerly known as Officers District Park, Tarongu Park is progressing, and it's really exciting. So thank you so much to all the staff that didn't give up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Are there any other councillors to speak to this? I see Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to note a couple of projects in Western Port Ward, namely the Coorup Bowls Club. It's well and truly underway and hopefully will be finished in November this year. It's funded by council and the Victorian and Australian government agencies. The other one is Coralline Football Club change rooms. So this is jointly funded by Council and a Victorian Government loan. So the revised timing for this project delivery date is August 2025. So it's a demolition of the existing change rooms and construction of a new modular building with facilities for club members and general community, including home and away change rooms, gym, amenities, a first aid room, storerooms and umpire change rooms, plus a standalone timekeeper's box. So this is a long time coming, this one. And the other one is Mount Lyell Road. So it is well and truly underway, and I can hear all the cheers from the residents along Mount Lyell Road to where I live that this has actually happened. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. We'll now go back to Councillor Owen to sum up.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all councillors. I enjoy listening to councillors on this report. Just a couple others I want to mention is the resurfacing and rehabilitation program, the significant proactive maintenance and upgrade of council's road network as part of council's asset management system. So resurfacing and rehabilitation programs are jointly funded by council and the Australian Government Roads to Recovery program. Last council meeting in September, we awarded a contract for the roads for 7 Mile Road, Bunyip Medella Road, Officer Road and Delmore Road. It's really important that we protect these roads, these assets. I know Officer Road's approaching 20 years old, and it needs to work to improve the asset before it breaks down and cost council more money in the end. So rehabilitation, resealing is really important part of council's budget program. Also, I just want to mention the Beaconsfield Wetland Boardwalk renewal, removing old timber structures, replacing with new steel structures on screw piles with an extruded polymer solid deck. So this work has been happening for a few months. It's taking a little while, but this work is fantastic. The asset is probably 25 years old now. Breaking down, it's really important that council invests in asset renewal. It's looking really good. Definitely some comments from residents that they are really thankful of council's work in this area. So that area should be completed in the coming month or so, which is really good. So this report, this activity report, is provided for council's information, but it's also really important that this information is for all residents. And I do encourage all residents to look at this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. We'll now put the officer recommendation to 7.5.1 up for a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. That concludes discussion of the agenda items. We'll move into councillor reports. Councillors, are there any matters to report? Who's going to kick us off? Thanks, Councillor Ryan. We'll go 3 minutes for each report. Thank you.
It's usually Councillor Ryan that'll start it and everyone follows, which is good. So, anyway, getting into it. Joined with the Ageing Well gathering, senior networking. Councillor Moore was there. We always have a lot of fun, and it's great to meet our community with seniors and the way that they network, because I think that's really important that we keep that socialisation going within council and our community. I was at an official opening for Pakenham Bowls for their season of 2024 and 25. I've never seen so much great food that's home cooking, and I think I went home and I probably didn't eat for a couple of days after that. But and just having a game of bowls, which is really, really great. So mental health action team. Council has that team here, and it comes under the Livable Plan. So it's in reference to partnerships within our community and engaging to try and encourage services down this way. And the Southeastern Mental Health Regional Board that I'm on, we have continual meetings, plus Victoria Mental Health October is coming up, so the whole month there'll be activities run for the community in and around Australia, Australia-wide. So try and participate and get involved and engage in this, because it's an important identity. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Are there any other matters to report? Councillor Davies.
Thank you. So whilst not an artist, I'm a huge supporter of the arts, and I really want to do a shout out to the Grow exhibition, which is on display at the Cardinia Cultural Centre. So open from the 2nd of August to the 22nd of September. You can still get there, and there's photographs of local farmers that capture the opportunities to grow in the sector, and there's imaginative sculptures crafted by young people. And the theory is that this display is a visually compelling narrative that bridges the present and future of our vital agricultural industry. Agriculture is something I think every Cardinia Shire Council resident connects with. And the exhibition was actually delivered in partnership of Vic Health and schools have been included. So I really encourage anyone that hasn't been there yet to stop in and it's really lovely. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Councillor Moore.
Yes, Mayor, it was an honour to be with you at the Garfield netball opening of the netball pavilion the other a week or so ago. What a fantastic facility that is for the Garfield Rec Reserve. And to see it on Saturday on full operation when it was on full alert with the games of netball being played there at the pavilion, and of course the great Narnagoon Football Club winning the grand final of the seniors. I had to put this in there, and the reserves as well winning the grand finals at the reserve of Garfield. And I've got to say that pass on to the staff that the ground and the facilities around Garfield on the day of the grand final was absolutely fantastic. So I was really honoured to be with you, and thank you for allowing me to open the Garfield Netball Pavilion after all those years of looking for funding and getting that over the line, which is a really fantastic result. I'm going to move on to Sunday. Sunday I went to the concert, the wonderful Cardinia Civic Concert Band day they had at Bunjil Place in Berwick. There was a celebration like no other for the wonderful Kim Thompson, who and the wonderful job she's done with that band over a 30-year period as second to none. I mean, her enthusiasm for the young people, young and some not so young, it's been going for many, many years. And I congratulate Kim and her family for what because a lot of the family members do play in the concert band. So, actually all of them do, I think. But it was a really great day out and emceed by the wonderful former mayor here of Russell Broadbent, did a really good job. So it was a really great day, great celebration for the Cardinia Civic Concert Band, and I was only too honoured to be there with the mayor. But it was a great day. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Are there any other councillors who would like to make a report? I see Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, and I was also present at the Garfield Netball Pavilion opening. So thanks for the vote of confidence there, Councillor Moore. Yes. So, and it's a great facility and it was a good turnout. So Councillor Moore did get rather emotional, which was hilarious, but anyway. And I also attended the VFF annual dinner at the racecourse out at Tynong. Kevin Sheedy was to be the guest speaker, but unfortunately took ill and was hospitalised. So we had another gentleman speaking who had been an RAF pilot. And he spoke about his flying escapades and how he's reinvented himself with drones, taking photos and crop spraying and spraying poisons on farms that are difficult to access and one thing and another. He was really, really interesting. Very, very clever man. The only other thing I have done in the last little while is the Couirup Township Committee AGM. Nothing much changed there in relation to the office bearers. So that was a good night, really, really well attended. So by a lot of new residents from Couirup. And that is about it for me.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. I'm going to Councillor Springfield.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just take the opportunity to have a quick shout out to a couple of the community groups that I was participating with in the last month. The Emerald Village Association had their AGM back in August. It was on my birthday, actually, so I thought I was surprised they didn't provide me a cake, but I could live with it. But I did. So yes, I'm very happy to attend, and they had a bit of a changing of the guard. Also, I'd like to thank Dick, who's been the president for Dick Bartley for many years, so for as longer than I've been a councillor. So he's stood down, and Peter Maloney's now the president of the Emerald Village Association. They have something like 150 odd members now and counting. They really have come in, come in droves, doing some great work and really getting the community activated and participating. So that was a well attended and great meeting to be a part of. The Gembrook Community Centre had their biannual AGM just recently last week, which I also went and helped to facilitate. And I would love to thank the group there too for their efforts over so many years. Our communities across Cardinia Shire are the backbone of these is the volunteers in the community groups such as these that put their volunteer hours in to try and make better outcomes for the wider community, to try and help drive council to be its best, but also identify the needs and the wants and the wishes within the community, and both do such a fabulous job. Also, the Emerald Lake Park Advisory Committee, we had our quarterly meeting as well. And look, I'd just like to thank them for their patience and diligence, because the park's been closed since we had the storms a few weeks back. It was closed for a couple of weeks, and there's a lot of operators within there that that is their business and their livelihood, like the paddle boats and the railway, the model railway group. And it is unfortunate when we have dangerous situations like with trees and hanging branches. It is within our risk management profile that we have to note that and close these parks down, but these guys are affected by it. So their concerns were heard and noted, and I know we've addressed this and we've got the park open again. But really thank you to all these great community groups that we have across our Shire doing so much good work for the wider community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Are there any other councillors with matters to report? I see none, so we'll move on. Thank you. Number 9, presentations of petitions. Councillors, are there any petitions to be tabled at tonight's meeting? I see none. Number 10, notices of motion. 10.1, notice of motion 1106 submitted by Councillor Davies. Councillor Davies, can you move your motion, please?
Thank you. I move so that a changing places facility is included in the scope of the second stage of works at Officer District Park.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that notice of motion? I see Councillor Owen. Councillor Davies.
Thank you. It is a basic human right to be able to access a suitable, safe and private place to go to the toilet. The council has spent over $7 million building Tarongu Park, formerly known as Officer District Park. And last meeting, this very council endorsed additional spending, including more car parks and larger public toilets. And it's come to my attention that the toilets won't have a changing places facility. Changing places facilities are public toilets that meet the required standard for people with disabilities to use. We've spent $7 million in public money building this amazing park. And it's in Tumacord and the central of Cardinia, the heart, and fittingly, Tarongu, it means heart in Bunurong language. This park is going to be so great for our community, and it's an absolute privilege to have been the ward councillor to lead it. And I thank Michael Casey, his predecessor Lily Rosick and their team. They've gone above and beyond to deliver this incredible park for our community, and it has not been easy, but they've done it for us. So thank you, council officers. The park has been designed to be the sort of place you can go for a whole day, a district level park like Emerald Lake Park. And that's why we've included toilets here. We don't put toilets in every park. But why should the disabled community not be able to spend a whole day at Tarongu Park like the rest of us can because they don't use a toilet the same way we do? Are they expected to not eat or drink anything all day? And someone using continence aids, like they shouldn't have to be changed out in the open or in their car. And I'm a mum and I certainly don't change my children's nappies without ensuring that they have some privacy, and no adult deserves that humiliation. I don't believe that in good conscience we can not provide suitable toilets for the whole community at this park. And one thing I reflect on that I've learnt being a councillor is that when I don't have the lived experience, that's when I need to listen twice as hard. The Access and Inclusion Committee made some amazing submissions last time we did a council budget. And it hasn't been put to them yet, oh, we're opening the park without a toilet, but I imagine they'd be pretty annoyed. And this is a park that's for everyone, and everyone needs and deserves a toilet. So councillors, let's make this happen. I seek your support in including a changing places facility at the park. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. I'll go to your seconder, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Davies. Can I ask a question? Obviously, the notice of motion says scope of the second stage of works at Oxford District Park. Can I just get confirmation? Is the second stage fully designed, or is that still to come of what will be part of that second stage?
Thank you. I'll just pause your speaking time and refer your question to Michael Casey. Thanks, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. So yes, Councillor Owen, the second stage is designed. So the full park is designed. The primary features of stage 2 are around the skate track and mountain boarding. And there is a proposed cafe to go in there, but some more investigation needs to go into that inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Councillor.
Okay. And just clarification, obviously in the council forecasted budget, is there allocations for that second stage in this forecasted budget?
Thanks, Michael.
Through you, Mayor. No allocation of money for stage 2.
Well, thank you for that clarification. And I think the notice of motion says scope, but the word scope is, my understanding, investigate, consider. It's not tying council to build such a facility. I support these facilities. They've made a huge difference for families with high needs, high disability, and access and inclusion is really important. So I'm really proud that this council has really pushed for additional facilities for changing places, such as Puffing Billy in Emerald, the Experience Centre up there, the Pakenham Level Crossing Removal Park under the railway line. We'll have one because of councillors and councils at advocacy. We've got one at Deep Creek, which is fantastic, Deep Creek Reserve. So I'm really proud that council has, in the last 3 years, have achieved, probably Deep Creek was just before then, but it has made a massive difference. So I support that it's, in the scope for consideration. As just highlighted, no budget has been allocated. My understanding, the plans are not fully adopted. So it's for consideration. I see the word scope. And also I understand council can apply for grants, and we have been successful for grants for changing places. So, I support this, adding it in the scope. I don't believe it commits council to delivering it. Obviously budget is important, and the next council may consider such inclusion, but I support this notice of motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Whilst I agree with the scope, as rightly said by Councillor Owen, the scope is discussions for the future to let's see what can be done in that space, and hopefully with the new council, they can see it their way to this is important part of the scope of the second stage. Of course, the council would consider whether the location is appropriate for such a facility and consult with the Access and Inclusion Committee, as stipulated by Councillor Davies. What concerns me is the park itself being up to $7 million is already over budget. It's already come back to council for additional funding for this park at this point before it gets to stage 2. My point is, I do agree with the changing places idea, and as Councillor Owen said, there's one at Deep Creek. There's also one at Cardinia Life. And Cardinia Life is only 3 kilometres away from where this park is. These are expensive things to build, and I'm saying that we've got these the Pakenham Library, there's and Puffing Billy Lakeside Visitors Centre, as Councillor Owen said. So there are other areas like the new rail station is going to have a changing places area as well. So there are other areas that can be used in this region. I'm just saying, as long as these conversations are had, discussions are had by the new council when the second stage arrives for the works, that these particular thoughts are put in place of these other changing places. Sorry, of or they are adult changing accessible toilets as well, are taken in consideration with this notice of motion. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I'm just going to ask a clarifying question, if that's okay, because I just want to make sure that the assumption that councillors are making is correct. So that a changing places facility is included in the scope of the second stage of works at Officer District Park. Can I just ask a question? Included in the scope, does that lock council in? Because from my understanding, the scope would be the specs of what the second stage would be. Councillor Owens made some, I guess in his speeches sort of said, I'm happy to support it as long as it doesn't lock council in. There's questions about money. So if I could just clarify that, what officer's interpretation of that is, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So including in the scope would include in the overall design. And what I understand is that at the time, detailed design would be brought back to the council for consideration and tender and so forth. So this resolution, if it was passed, would require us to include a changing places in the scope at that time.
Okay, thank you, CEO. So my understanding of that explanation is it would be included, and then a detailed design, the new council could determine whether or not there was budget to do so. So it would not be locking a future council in. That's my understanding. Thank you for giving me that. I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. I'll go to Councillor Carol Ryan.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Access and inclusion for all. That includes people with disabilities in any capacity whatsoever. And we do have to think of that under the livable plan as well. I would like to clarify, there is a cafe going in. Are there toilets that will be within that cafe? And are they access for people with disabilities? Okay. I just wanted to clarify that there are toilets there that will be there in that stage to have that access for those people within the park. And I assume from that the cafe would only be open at certain times. That's all I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Springfield.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I support the idea of including this in the scope, noting as the previous comments that this isn't budgeted for at this point in time. Detailed designs will have to come back to the new council to make decisions on the budget allocation, to make final decisions on what is included and not included, and where our priorities are to spend our ratepayers' resources at that point in time. So I'm happy to support Councillor Davies here to include that for consideration in the future plans for the stage 2, noting that really it's going to come down to when that process happens, which as it always does when it comes to projects of this size. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Are there any other councillors to speak to this item? I see none. I'll go back to Councillor Davies to summarise.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. So Tumaquad is getting a $7 million park with a large toilet block, and able-bodied people can use the toilets. Disabled people should be able to use the toilets there too. Fair is fair. It's a basic human right to be able to access a suitable, safe and private place to go to the toilet. Let's make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. We'll now put your notice of motion 1106 up for a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Notice of motion 1107 submitted by Councillor Davies. Can you move your motion, please?
Thank you. Mr. Harris is going to display wording up on the screen. There has been a slight amendment although the intent remains the same. Slightly less controversial is what's been presented to hopefully make it a little bit more palatable. Would you like me to read that out, Mayor? Okay. So the amended motion, item 1107 by myself, is that Council refers the process used during the Pakenham East suburb naming to the Local Government Inspectorate for review, in particular to consider allegations that the council officers have influenced and changed, the councillors have influenced and changed council officer recommendations on the recommended name, that council officers and councillors have workshopped the rating matrix for the consultation data in full view of the data, which compromise the integrity of the consultation, and 3, that undisclosed potential perceived conflicts of interest by councillors and officers are relevant. 2, that council pauses the current suburb naming process for the new suburb in the Pakenham East PSP, presently recommended by Councillor Sonora Fields, pending the outcome of the Local Government Inspectorate referral. And 3, that Geographic Names Victoria and all submitters are notified of the council resolution.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Is there a seconder for this notice of motion? I see Councillor Owen.
For the purposes of debate, please.
Thank you. We note that. Thank you, Councillor Davies.
Thank you. So there's a difference between doing what's right and what's easy, and this has not been easy. And this suburb name, it's 7 years overdue. And I'm asking to pause the process now and not cease it. And if there's nothing wrong, then the organisation can proceed and name the suburb. But if there is something wrong, the Local Government Inspectorate should find it. So what are my concerns and why? This, all councillors have a copy. This is a councillor briefing report from the 17th of June, and it reads that the council officer recommendation for the new suburb name is Ellis Park. This is a councillor briefing report from the 8th of July. It reads the council officer recommendation for the new suburb is Sonora. Council officer recommendations are meant to be factual, unbiased and professional advice. Councillors regularly debate alternative motions, and we don't claim our alternative motions are the council officer's independent, unbiased advice. Councillor Graham Moore, in fact, used an alternative motion when he added Sonora into the list of proposed suburb names in April. The council officers' process had led them to recommend a list of 5 names, and Councillor Moore had another. He added it in. We voted to that. But how did we get here with 2 different officer recommendations? Is there any difference to the content of the reports? The facts are the same. The only difference is that the categories used to group the votes, their weighting criteria in the first report has 6 categories, and the second report there's 3. And that's the only difference, and a different recommended name. And at the briefing on the 17th of June, all councillors were here, according to the minutes, and I recall that Councillor Moore, backed by Councillor Springfield, questioned the categories applied to weight the votes from the consultation. And I recall staff, in particular Mr. Harris, saying, okay, well, we consider this. 3 things. 1, the categorisation and the weighting of data, that should have been decided before seeing the votes and not after. Councillor Moore and Councillor Springfield, neither of you are a mathematician. You don't have a professional skill set in this space, fair? And finally, no councillor should ever change the content of a council officer's report or their recommendation. And I'll speak briefly to conflicts of interest. We are all humans with needs, with relationships, and all humans have interests. And when you work in government, you learn about conflicts of interest and why they matter. The test is the pub test, and it even says this on the Local Government Victoria website. If someone, anyone, might potentially hear half the story and think we did the wrong thing, that's when we know we declare it. And Councillor Owens declared when we had a detailed look into a planning matter, he said, my sister lives nearby, just in case, I'm out. And Councillor Cameron's declared before, a regional strategic report included an area of land which she owns. She declared she left the room, and we weren't even making a decision. That report was information only. So I recently learned that there is a staff member with a strong personal preference for the suburb to be named Sonora. I learned that the staff member works in the same department with the staff who did the suburb naming process. The staff member and Councillor Moore are in many photographs together going back years based on articles in the local paper. And in June this year, there is one with them both with you, Councillor Kowalczyk. And I reviewed our April council meeting when Councillor Moore moved his alternative motion to add Sonora in as a potential suburb name. He refers to a resident living on the land today being a direct descendant of Honora, says, I should have asked them. He doesn't specifically mention the resident's wife is this staff member. So Councillor Moore and CEO, I think you both knew then and know now that this is at minimum a potential perceived conflict of interest. Do you need to pause the time while the CEO just has a chat with the Mayor?
No, Councillor Davies. Just in terms of the allegations of, I think you both know, I don't think you can say that because it's not a statement of fact. So I just ask you to withdraw that remark and just try and stick to statements of fact. I'm obviously want to let you speak as freely as possible. I want to ensure that we have free and open debate in this council, but when we're making allegations, can we please try and be clear that they're statements of fact? Thank you.
I believe that Councillor Moore and the CEO knew then and know now that this is at minimum a potential perceived conflict of interest. And it might even be enough for a confirmed conflict of interest, but that's not for me or any councillor to decide. Failing to declare is the offence and not whether or not it's substantiated. And the CEO and the senior staff, they're paid by our ratepayers, and I'm wondering just how many sat there when they knew this staff member knew Councillor Moore and were aware of this was being hidden from the councillors. So do you need some time, or do you want to keep interrupting?
Councillor Davies, can we please have a level of decorum in the debate? So I think the point is well made there that I don't think you necessarily need to reference staff members and be constantly referencing staff members in what you're trying to say. I understand it's in the notice of motion. You've made that point, and I think continually casting aspersions on staff members is not appropriate. Thank you.
Well, thank you for confirming that I've made the point. I think that this has been extremely disrespectful to the community we serve. And Councillor Kwasik, you're known to call me smart as a whip, your words. My intelligence hasn't changed because I've identified something we'd all prefer.
Point of order, Mayor. It's getting too personal.
Let me just stop the speaking time. Just have a look at this. I'm going to allow Councillor Davies to keep going because she is sticking closely to the topic raised in her notice of motion. And I have reminded Councillor Davies a couple of times to make sure that she doesn't get too personal. So thanks for raising that, but I'm going to let Councillor Davies continue as she is. Thank you.
Perhaps I'll quote your recent media release, Councillor Kwasik. Good governance and transparency in all that we do. Perhaps not this time. And whilst we're on the topic, what review did you do before using the council website and social media channels to disparage me? Did you even look at the documents?
All right, Councillor Davies, that's your speaking time up. Would you like to ask for an extension?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a mover? No, there's not. Thank you, Councillor Davies. I'll go to your seconder, Councillor Brett Owen.
Thanks, Mayor. I reserve my right at this time to speak.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Owen. I'll go to Councillor Jeff Springfield.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, I would like to debunk this great Cardinia conspiracy. You know, I can tell you and the community here exactly why Council resolved unanimously to support Honora as a new suburb name. It's because it overwhelmingly received the highest support from the community. It received the most amount of votes by a country mile, 636 votes from the community. From the process we went through was for Honora, 399 for the tide of the second two. That's it. Now, Councillor Davies pointed out I'm not a professional mathematician, but I can add up my numbers, and 636 is a lot more than 399. There is no conspiracy here. There is nothing to see here, and it is, you know, it's a real blemish on this council at the end of the term. This is the last thing we're debating in this council term. I'm actually a little bit ashamed that, you know, this is what our council has been drawn into. Yeah, I strongly believe that council has an obligation to deliver value for money for our ratepayers, for the dollars we spend. And what this notice of motion is tending to do is for us to go through a whole new process, spending a whole bunch of money on something to get to what outcome? Honora is a good name. It honors, you know, it honors a matriarch of our community that's been here for a long time, a family that's been established for a long time. It is a fantastic choice, and we made this unanimously. Councillor Davies herself supported this at the July council meeting, so I really don't understand all of a sudden there is this conspiracy here and that someone's going to start claiming, you know, conflicts of interest and corruption and stuff happening over this item is absolutely crazy. undisclosed conflicts of interest is considered serious misconduct under the Local Government Act. Claiming as which, just to go on social media, to jump at this committee and start pointing the finger and claiming everyone has this, there is a specific process for this, a course of action to take for a councillor if they wish to prosecute an allegation against another councillor or a member of staff about having an undeclared conflict of interest. And I implore Councillor Davies to follow this process if they believe they have a valid point for this. If they believe they have valid claims, there was an undeclared conflict of interest, they should follow that process. Instead, they're just making a bit of a circus around this, promoting it all around the place, and it's really insulting and it's bullying and it's attacking councillors out there, and it's really terrible behaviour.
Thanks, Councillor Davies. What's your point of order?
Councillor Springfield has just accused me of bullying. I haven't bullied anybody. Have him withdraw that remark.
Okay. Councillor Springfield, I'm going to ask you to withdraw the bullying remark. It's unsubstantiated at this point in time.
Thank you, Mayor, and I apologise. I will withdraw that remark, but continually accusing other people of breaking the law of serious misconduct,
Point of order.
I don't think is appropriate for anyone to be continue doing that. I won't call it bullying, but it can be whatever you want to call it.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Springfield. Councillor Davies, what's the point of order this time?
Councillor Springfield has reported, is making allegations that I've repeatedly made baseless types of accusations. That's false. It's in the report.
Okay, Councillor Davies, that's not a point of order in grounds with, so I'm going to rule in Councillor Springfield's favour and ask him to continue. And if we can please, again, just I stress a level of decorum. I understand it's a contentious issue, but if we can just maintain civility. Councillor Springfield.
Thank you, Mayor. And I do apologise for my, if I'm coming across unprofessional here, because I do feel heartfelt that fellow councillors and staff members have really been, have had great concerns about the disparaging remarks that have been made surrounding this. And there is nothing to see here. Again, Honora received the most amount of votes. I'm not a mathematician, but 336 is a lot more than 399, which was the second most preference. It says so in the report at the council meeting that under a number of different weighted scenarios, it could either be Alice Park or Honora, but Honora is supported because it had the most and it has great reference to the place that it exists there. Now, just lastly, the one other point is...
Sorry, I'm just going to have to ask you for an would you like to continue speaking?
Yes, please.
Yeah, moved Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Ryan. Another minute, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one final point that I'll make there. I know Councillor Davies claims that, that the councillors saw the raw data, that we shouldn't have seen the raw data. I don't understand how, in any recollection here for any community, why we shouldn't see the votes. We should see exactly the votes, and apparently we should have only seen some type of weighted scenario that didn't include the actual raw data, which is how many people voted for which name. I think that is exactly what we should be basing our decisions on. That's what I based my decision on when we chose this name, unanimously supported this name at the July council meeting, was the data of who received the most votes. And I'm sorry, I'm not a mathematician apparently, but Honora received a heap more votes than any other name choice in that survey that we did. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this? Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually, I'm a bit speechless for the first time in my life because I can't believe what I'm seeing here. Anyhow, I'm going to speak. I don't need the staff. I don't need the CEO. I don't need the Mayor to tell me what a conflict of interest is. I know what a conflict of interest is, and there's nothing going on here. I can tell you that now. This is ridiculous. This has been taken by a councillor to the government inspector to prove. I want proof. This is hearsay. This is just rubbish. I've never heard so much rubbish in my life when it comes down to accusing someone. I've been on council for 14 years and I've never been in this position in my life. I do not understand, and I just can't go along with it. I'm guilty. I'll tell you where I'm guilty of asking a question. I asked a question about the scoring mechanism of the name. Yeah, I did, and it was bandied around. Yes, it wasn't workshopped as so indicated. This was brought about because of the areas around the actual district of the Pakenham East Estate. The area around was voted on, and Honora stood out as far as the voting mechanism. The local people that bought land that probably came from the other side of the city voted on Alice. And naturally they would. It's like Alice in Wonderland, isn't it? It's like a beautiful little town. But Honora stood out as being the right name for that suburb, as because of the local content of the people that live there. No influence from me, no conflict of interest. It's just straight out plain good governance, and we followed it to the letter of the law. And Mayor, I don't want to talk anymore because I'm just getting a little bit too emotional about this, because I just can't believe we're at this point when it should be, the name should be up on the road right now and welcomed by us as councillors and the community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this? I see Councillor Carol Ryan.
Just in short, Mayor, there is a protocol to follow through if there's any complaints or any discrepancies in anything that we do as councillors. And I didn't see that this was the process that has happened, and comments have gone out that shouldn't have gone out. In my opinion, it should be run by the way that the protocol should happen. If you have a complaint and there's any discrepancies, then you follow protocol. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Are there any other councillors to speak to this? Would you like to speak to this, Councillor Owen? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, all councillors. I second this motion because I feel it's important to allow a councillor to talk to their notice of motion. I don't like it when councillors are silenced and there's no seconder. So I appreciate it has been concerning, this conversation, this debate, but I wanted to allow this conversation to be had in this forum. In my opinion, no wrongdoing has been made in this whole process. As other councillors have said, there is avenues, if there is concerns, whether it's from a councillor or a resident, there are avenues to lodge complaints or concerns through the local government inspectorate. So I encourage those people to do so. But I want to go back to the 15th of July council meeting in the council report. Talking about the voting process, council's engagement team created a live survey link on their Creating Cardinia website. The community was able to review all the proposed names and a brief background of the women whose names have been recognised and used as proposed suburb names. The community could then use the survey link to vote for the first most preferred name, following by their second preferred name as a second option. The online voting also captured the residential locality of the respondent. The voting from displayed the proposed suburb boundary and provided people the opportunity to comment on the boundary if they chose to. Additional comments were also able to be placed on the form through an additional comments box. Voting forms were also available to those upon request, and a small number of hard copies was received. Talking about the results, and this is key, and I know a number of councillors cover this, but over a 5-week period, a total of 1,991 completed surveys were received. Of this number, 151 of these were determined to be duplicates and were removed. As a result, the total number of surveys were 1,840. Overall, there were 2 clear front runners, Alice Park and Honora. However, there are 3 representative categories of votes, and each category had produced a different leading name. 1, live or own land within the suburb area, Alice Park. 2, live in Narnagoon, Pakenham or elsewhere in Cardinia Shire, that was Honora. And live outside of Cardinia Shire with a subcategory or of live outside the Shire but have friends or relatives within the Shire, that was Deborah. In relation to interpreting the data, geographic place names allow councils to determine how they will present the data and select a preferred name. GNV advised that those who are directly affected should be given higher consideration when making a decision. In this case, that would be the people living in or close to the suburb and those within Cardinia Shire. The April Council report indicated that Council would use a weighting to determine the outcome. It did not include a method that the weighting would follow. Due to the results of the voting, using the different weightings, either Alice Park or Honora can come out as the most preferred suburb name. So back to raw data. For this reason, officers...
Sorry, Councillor, that's 3 minutes.
Really?
Would you like to? Yes.
Well, can I ask for...
You can ask for more time. Would you like to? Councillor Davies and Councillor Ryan.
Thank you. Sorry. For this reason, officers recommended not to rely on the weighted data alone, but to consider the actual raw data. Honora received the most preferred votes, 636, Alice Park, 399. Honora is the second most preferred name of those responding who own a property within the suburb. Weighted scenarios showed Alice Park or Honora as the first preference, so that's why raw data 636 compared to 399, and that says that it was very clear. Honora has strong links to place, with the family name appearing on the parish plans and the family still owning land and living within the sub area. Of the 318 comments received, 50 were in support of Honora, the second highest category of responses, and the most popular name commented on. So raw data, there we go. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Owen. And I'm going to come in here and allow Councillor Davies the right of reply in her summary, because this is her notice of motion and that's appropriate. I'll just make sure I don't go over my own speaking time, because that would be double standards. Just in response to Councillor Davies regarding a statement that went on Council's website, that statement went up in response to very serious allegations that you posted online. But I'm going to depersonalise my take from here on out and stick to the process, which seems to be the main point of contention in this. Firstly, I'm happy and confident with the naming process that we followed, and that we followed our own and GNV's rules. I have been incredibly disappointed with the commentary around, how this process has played out. Some of it is really quite nasty and some really distasteful stuff I've seen online. But anyway, I'm also disappointed that it's played out in the public and online before it's had a chance to be heard at council. And I think that's certainly the cart being put before the horse there. So at the very beginning, we took the lead for the Minister for Equality, GNV, and the Put Her Name On It campaign from Gender Equity Victoria picked 5 prominent local female names as options. Instead of council deciding itself, we put it out to the community. Ultimately, Honora got the most votes, and I think we've been through that. So recommendations from council officers are only that, they're recommendations, but councillors backed the majority community vote and unanimously supported Honora. I've read online that referrals have been made to independent watchdog agencies, and that's fine. The action of making a claim or allegation about another councillor or the council itself through a submission is actually appropriate if a councillor or anyone is concerned about any conduct. I actually welcome those agencies coming in and taking a look at the entire process and councillors' involvement, as has been referenced. But the making of public allegations before any independent external agency has made a ruling or even had a look, well, there doesn't seem to be any commitment to good process or fairness in that. So I just want to let councillors know, regardless of whether this notice of motion passes or not, I will write to the relevant authority in this space, be it IBAC or the local government inspectorate or another body, and ask them to review the process that was followed here. Because given the allegations made now at this point in time, that's the right step to take, and that's evidence, I think, of following good process. So I'll leave it there and go back to the mover of the notice of motion, Councillor Davies, to sum up. Thank you.
So why did I go public? Because for the past 8 weeks, you've all refused to listen. And I've called for a pause tonight because I believe there's a really good reason, and I'm not stupid. And you hear about jobs for mates in government, and I'll be really embarrassed if Cardinia Shire has taken it a bit further with suburb names for mates. I really hope that's not the headline. And yep, they are very serious allegations. And do you think I wanted to do this? But since when do council officer recommendations change? They don't. And if there's nothing to see here, the inspectorate can do their inspection.
Point of order. It's misleading because the council officer's recommendation didn't change. It was one recommendation that was in the council meeting agenda item, and that never changed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Davies. I think if you're going to say the recommendation change, can you please reference the briefing? Because the recommendation made to the ordinary meeting stayed the same.
Okay. Here is the briefing document, and it reads that a recommendation is that council, the new suburb name be at Alice Park, 17th of June.
I understand that, Councillor Davies. This is in reference to the briefing, not the ordinary meeting. Thank you. Please continue.
If there's nothing to see here, the inspectorate do their inspection. They can say go ahead and we can name it then. But why rush a suburb name if we've potentially broken the law? And I have no issue with Honora being the suburb name 0. Every proposed name was reasonable to me. Beautiful stories, all of them. And there's also another great Honora in our local history, the matron of the Pakenham Bush Hospital in the 70s and a farmer. But in July, I didn't realise there was 2 formalised officer recommendations made to council. And this isn't the way we ever do things. And I wasn't looking for it. And until I knew about a potential conflict of interest, I didn't look hard. And I'm not here to prove whether anyone was in conflict or not. But in declaring it, it's out in the open, and that's what we're trained to do. You've all got the reports, and you can see it with your own eyes. Briefing reports with 2 different council officer recommendations on the same topic. And you know how often that happens in local government. You can Google, and you all know to declare conflicts. And Councillor Springfield, when I raised this, you replied the following, and I quote, "Baseless types of accusations out in all directions, depending on your mood of the day, like a pyromantic child."
Point of order. Mayor, this is not relevant to the notice of motion that she has presented here today.
think it's relevant.
Thank you. I'm just going to stop your speaking time. Councillor Davies, it is not actually relevant to the notice of motion itself. So I'd ask you to please get back to the topic of the notice of motion.
It's evidence that you didn't want to hear me, and it's not baseless. And why shouldn't I fix this? And why do you want to tolerate it? And yeah, I could have ignored it. I could have avoided the bad press, coasted my way through to what looked like a really confident re-election, but I choose integrity, and I will choose that every time this fails the pub test.
Okay, thank you. Just over time, but that's fine. Thank you, Councillor Davies. We'll now put your notice of motion 1107 up for a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that lost. Moving on to agenda item number 11, urgent business. There are no items of urgent business tonight. Moving on to item 12, councillor questions. Councillor Davies has tabled questions at the meeting. I believe there's 16 questions submitted, which officers have answered and provided to all councillors, but in the process, I will ask Mr. Peter Benezik to read and answer these questions, noting under the governance rules, each councillor is allocated 5 minutes to ask questions. So I will cut you off after 5 minutes. Thank you, Peter.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Davies, for your questions. I'll commence at the first question. Would you please confirm for the public record what resolutions, in brackets decisions, were made by this council between 2020 and now at public council meetings in relation to the Pakenham Town Centre and Main Street upgrades? Please present a tabled list with both the confirm of the month of the meeting and the council resolution. I'll commence from the latest and sort of move through this. So June 17, and I should say before responding to the question, this topic has been presented and there's been 19 touch points with the council during this period of various nature in terms of workshops, briefings and alike. But going back to the endorsement, 17th of June 2004, the endorsed decision was stage 1 design. The resolution was moved by Councillor Carol Ryan and Councillor Colin Ross. Sorry, it's a bit late. It said that Council endorsed the design for stage 1 of Pakenham Revitalisation Project. 2, that it delegate authority to the CEO to finalise such details as placement of bins, bike racks, seating, roads, footpath, pavement composition, infrastructure locations, catering for flexibility of placement, managing the competing complexities with service as the project progresses. That notes the commitment to support local business throughout this project through a planned engagement activities, as well as the requirement of successful tenderer to develop a disruption mitigation plan that addresses key concerns for local businesses, including access to business for customers and deliveries, staged construction with timeframes, utilise alternative methods to mitigate business disruptions like night works where practical, and minimal works from September to December, noise and dust suppression. That council note that council will continue to be updated as this project progresses through the final stages of design and construction. Item 2 in the table, through the period of July to August 2023, there was community consultation support for the public realm strategy. The workshops occurred on the 24th of October 2023, the 8th of November 2023 and the 14th of November 2023. November 23, Council endorsed the public realm strategy. The resolution was that Council endorsed public realm strategy to support the implementation of the long-term plan to revitalise Pakenham. Alternate resolution moved by Councillor Jeff Springfield and seconded by Councillor Ryan read as follows: that Council endorses the public realm strategy to support the implementation of the long-term plan to revitalise Pakenham. 2, provides further consideration to the potential of a one-way traffic flow scenario for Main Street, Pakenham. 3, undertakes an assessment of the viability of the one-way traffic flow scenario and potentially to be implemented during future phases of the strategy. 4, commences the engagement with community and local traders to inform them of the Pakenham Revitalisation Project and the impacts for delivery of phase 1 of the project. Thanks. February 15, 2021. Council, the Pakenham Major Activity Centre Structure Plan and Urban Framework Parking Precinct Plan was brought to Council. The resolution, moved by Councillor Jack Kowalczyk and seconded by Councillor Stephanie Davis, said that Council adopts an updated Pakenham Major Activity Structure Plan 15th of February 2021 contained in Attachment 1. 2, adopts an updated Pakenham Major Activity and Urban Design Framework February 15, 2021 contained in Attachment 1. Adopts an amended C228 to Council's Cardinia Planning Scheme with changes under subsection 29 brackets 1 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987, generally in accordance with Attachment 6, submits adopted.
Thanks, Peter. That's 5 minutes. I know you've also responded via email. Thank you. Thank you very much, councillors. That concludes councillor questions. I'll just go on to the mayoral minutes. So there have been a few schedule changes for upcoming meetings that I need to bring your attention to. I wish to advise that there will be a special council meeting held on the 21st of October 2024 to adopt the annual report. This is a requirement under the Local Government Act 2020. It's also my birthday, so anyway, I might not be here. I'll phone it in. The Town Planning Committee meeting advertised to be held on the 2nd of December 2024 will now actually be held on the 9th of December 2024. The Statutory Council meeting advertised to be held on the 18th of November will now be held on the 25th of November. There will be no ordinary council meeting on the 25th of November. It'll be that statutory one only. Please refer to Council's website for further information regarding some of those date changes. And just finally, I know we've had some contentious items here and some vociferous debate, but tonight is the last ordinary meeting of this council term, so I do want to take this opportunity to formally thank councillors, the CEO, SLT and all officers for all of their hard work. I know, as I said, we will have that special council meeting, but thank you everyone for your contributions to this council and to this community. And just on a personal note, this is our first meeting since my daughter was born, so I just want to thank everyone who reached out to me personally and Sarah and I with well wishes regarding that. We certainly appreciated that, and thanks, councillors, for your support. All right, that concludes tonight's meeting. Thank you for your attendance. Now, Councillor Moore. Yes.
Sorry, Mayor, I just wanted to congratulate you with your daughter and for a wonderful year you've done as Mayor. You've led us very well around the traps, and I really want to thank you from the councillors for what you've done out in the field. Mayor, you've got every event I could possibly think of, and you're always there. And so it's just, you did a fantastic job as Mayor. And I was only proud to be alongside you at a lot of those meetings. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Moore. Thanks, everyone. That concludes tonight's meeting. Thank you for your attendance. I now declare the meeting closed at 9:13 p.m. Thanks.